Welcome to the Gary Null Show, a program designed to enhance mental, physical, and spiritual well-being through science and the wisdom of the ages. Let us take you on a journey of empowerment. Sit back, relax, and get ready to change your life for good.
Viewers are advised to speak with their own healthcare providers before making changes in diet and exercise regimens.
What you need is a sense of self-esteem. Stop thinking of yourself in someone else's eyes. Think of yourself in your own eyes. When you're looking in a mirror, you shouldn't see 100 million men judging you with scorecards. Oh, you're too thin, or you're not thin enough, or you're not this or that. Say nonsense. You should see the real you in there. You should de-stress yourself. You should have a better self-image and realize that in the end, what makes you a special person is the uniqueness of your spirit, your mind, and your soul. Breaking the cycle of food addiction is crucial, and you do that by starting to reintroduce food in larger amounts. From a woman's perspective, she has to understand a guy sits down to a meal and he's going to eat until he's full. A woman never eats till she's full. A woman eats based upon what she feels her body can handle without looking overweight. And she counts calories. Men never count calories. You never see a guy count calories. He just sits down. He'll eat the plate. He'll eat the table. He'll eat anything that's moving. Women are very specific. Well, I can't eat that because it's got fat in it. I can't eat that because... Wrong. Start to eat a good vegetarian diet. You know what's going to happen? You're going to be able to eat more than what you would normally eat. I never count calories, and yet I stay fit, and all the women I counsel stay fit and lose weight if they need to, but they gain weight if they need to because they're eating what the body requires. Complex carbohydrate, good vegetarian diet, and make sure you get zinc in liquid form. Oh, there's so many misconceptions about women. And this is one that is right at the top of the list. PMS. Do you know that in the 1800s you could be put into a mental institution for suffering from PMS? Do you know that millions and millions of American women in the 1960s and 70s went to their physician talking about problems of PMS, and the doctors do a cursory exam and say there's nothing wrong with you and give them Valium? Over 100 million toxic, unnecessary tranquilizers were given. So in contempt were men of women's attitude and body that they weren't willing to recognize that women were having a condition. So here's what it comes down to. You know that PMS is real, even if your doctor will not acknowledge it. But when was the last time your doctor acknowledged anything that was real in you? They're not going to, so don't wait around from them. Take control, change your diet, and watch PMS no longer be an issue in your life. Menopause marks the end of the female reproductive cycle, which typically occurs between the ages of 45 and 50. But can happen anywhere from 40 to 60, or even earlier as a result of surgery or illness. Menopause is said to begin when a woman goes through one complete year without a period. The stage before menopause, called perimenopause, may last as long as 10 years. Many women harbor misconceptions about the nature and the effects of menopause. In cultures where menopause is less feared, symptoms are virtually non-existent, like in Japan and in China. We've been led to believe that as you age and when you hit menopause, your ovaries simply dry up. They cease having any use, no longer secreting the hormones that once kept you young and vital, so you can take them out, all right? Wrong. And I want to explain how that works. When you're in perimenopause, the ovaries go through a last hurrah. The body is making very high levels of estrogen, trying to kickstart the ovaries so they can keep going. There's subtle winding down. All right, it's not all at once. There will be some fluctuations, and sometimes they can be erratic, and that can cause hot flashes. At menopause, your body shifts just enough so you no longer are able to produce eggs, but you're also still producing adequate levels of estrogen to maintain the functions of your body. At menopause, the outer part of the ovaries, which has been more responsible for producing eggs, begins to shrink because eggs are no longer being created. but the inner part, called the inner stroma, actually gets switched on for the first time. It produces hormones that look after your heart, your blood vessels, your skin, your libido, protecting the woman's body and her well-being. Now, we've got a lot of misconceptions and myths. Let me just dispel some myths about menopause, all right? Menopause causes sex drive loss. Wrong. Society expects menopausal women to lose their sex drive. But this does not have to happen. Many women fear that they are going to lose their passion and their sexuality. Many report feeling more sexual because the risk of pregnancy is gone. There's another myth, that menopause creates psychological problems. Oh yes, women see menopause as the beginning of the end. They believe that life is going to be downhill from this point on. They no longer think of themselves as youthful, as able to contribute to society. They fear that their behavior will become erratic, hysterical, and out of control. Why? Because that's what men have told them. This is not true. Sugar, you've heard me say it, can cause hot flashes and other menstrual symptoms that should be avoided completely. Sugar, coffee, alcohol adversely affect the blood sugar and can disturb the emotions. In addition, a number of fruits and vegetables are particularly high in phytochemicals, plant chemicals, and phytohormones. These include apples, grapefruits, lemons, pears, peaches, and a wide variety of vegetables that are high in fiber and loaded with phytochemicals. I found that a diet with the right amount of proteins, fats, and low glycemic carbohydrates not only helps regulate sex hormone production, but it also helps to balance the hormone response to food, which I think is critical to keeping blood sugar levels stable. And a level blood sugar helps prevent perimenopausal symptoms like depression, mood swings, hot flashes, and that it encourages weight loss without any effort. And vitamin E. This vitamin is known for its ability to rejuvenate the reproductive system and alleviate hot flashes. And finally, progesterone oxygenates the cells. Now, pregnenolone helps the body create female hormones. And DHEA, natural DHEA found in wild yam extract preparations, rejuvenates the body. And progesterone cream or serum, progesterone is a woman's rejuvenating hormone, which protects against cancer and fibrocystic breast and increases the beneficial effects of thyroid hormone. In addition, it guards against osteoporosis by putting calcium back into the bones. After menopause, progesterone can be taken 3 or 4 weeks out of a month, and wild yam creams contain progesterone and can be purchased over the counter. And oral natural progesterone can also be taken. Now, estriol, E-S-T-R-I-O-L, is a natural, friendly estrogen that has been shown to inhibit breast tumors in animals. And some gynecologists are beginning, thank goodness, to recommend estriol for menopausal women as being safer and more effective than synthetics. And triple estrogen, this is a formula, it's about 80% estriol, and the remaining 20% is made from estrione and estradiol. And estriol provides protection from breast cancer. Together, estrione and estradiol help protect against osteoporosis, cardiovascular problems, and more. And there are no negative side effects. Then exercise. Regular exercise can reduce the frequency and severity of hot flashes. And this is because it decreases follicle-stimulating hormone. And for best results, it's a good idea to begin exercising before menopause begins. Otherwise, exercise may trigger hot flashes. Exercise also alleviates mood swings and depression by raising naturally serotonin and endorphin levels in the brain. The best exercise to engage in is dancing or brisk walking or running, swimming, biking, tai chi. They all work. Millions of American women believe that they are going to suffer from osteoporosis, a thinning of the bones. And as a result, most of them are going to end up taking some form of estrogen replacement therapy. Now, is that the best therapy? Not in my opinion. In fact, I'm really opposed to that. Let me tell you why. Because common sense, the 5 leading nations in the world that consume the most dairy, including the United States, and Germany, and England, for example, and France, we also have the most osteoporosis. And yet, the 5 nations that consume almost no dairy have almost no osteoporosis. Well, if we're told we need more calcium, and dairy is a good source of calcium, and to prevent osteoporosis, take dairy, then we shouldn't have any osteoporosis. But we do have it, so it's not dairy that's preventing it. And partly it's because A, dairy is highly allergenic in many people, and B, because it's deficient in magnesium. And it's magnesium that we needed, and boron, and phosphorus, and manganese. Simple minerals that we could get from a well-balanced diet or supplementation. Now, when you look at what we're eating, a high-protein diet, how many Americans you know at any given time in any year are on a high-protein diet? They go up and down in weight, the yo-yo syndrome. Well, that high protein does this to your body, and here's what you got to understand. A high-protein diet has too much phosphorus. It has too much protein. Now, then you're taking soft drinks, and we are a nation that really consumes a lot of soft drinks. And the soft drinks have phosphoric acid. Well, when you take the soft drink, it has that phosphoric acid, and you take the hamburger or cheeseburger or hot dog or whatever meat you're having or chicken, the two together, high protein and phosphorus, chelate out calcium. As a result, zinc, calcium, and copper are out of the system. So I'm suggesting that when we give up the soft drinks, give up the caffeine, give up the meat, and instead have good quality vegetables and grains and nuts and seeds and legumes, then we're not going to have that osteoporosis. Now you walk. Simple walking, that's right, just walking. Every time your leg comes down, like in power walking, you are forcing calcium into the long bones. So power walking, simple power walking, heel to toe, right, for about a half hour is getting minerals into the bone, strengthening the bone, so you don't end up demineralized. But in a society, as women age, they don't exercise enough, and they're not consistent. And if you took some light weights, like 3-pound weights, 5-pound weights, and you just did this each day, light little curls for about 10 minutes with little breaks in between, you're forcing magnesium and calcium into that bone, mineralizing it. You need that kind of little pressure exercise, resistant exercise. It's not difficult to prevent osteoporosis. After all, the Chinese are doing it, the Japanese are doing it, the Philippines are doing it, the Africans are doing it, the South Americans are doing it, and vegetarians are doing it. Yes, that's right. Vegetarians have far less osteoporosis than the rest of the population. Isn't it time now that you understood that you don't need the hormone replacement therapy in order to prevent osteoporosis? A few years ago, I was doing a women's health study group, and there was a woman in the audience, and she had chronic fatigue syndrome, and she was disabled. She also had depression, she was overweight, she had upper respiratory tract infections, her body was loaded with Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes virus. And so what I did was I simply suggested that she first go on a detoxification program, and B-complex and zinc and selenium. We started taking that, and her immune system came up, her energy came up. We're sleeping 16 hours a day, now she was sleeping 7 hours a day. Where she had to be bedridden all the time and couldn't do anything, now she could go out for walks. And then she had isolated herself. Her depression gave her a sense of low self-esteem. And so I started thinking about the positive things she wanted to do with her life. So she started doing hobbies again and crafts again, and she felt good. And now this person no longer has chronic fatigue syndrome. She's a completely healthy, normal person. Now, that's how a woman can approach it. One of the problems with chronic fatigue is that the medical community has never gotten it right, and it's never going to get it right, because historically medicine has been able to say a disease only exists if we have a single item that causes it. They want a single item that causes a single isolated and specific condition. Well, chronic fatigue has multiple causes. It's due to an overwhelming of your immune system from a very toxic environment externally and a toxic mental environment internally. A lack of confidence, a lack of self-love, a lack of appreciation of who you are, a lack of being able to have reasonable goals. Frequently, you've set goals too high, haven't been able to meet them, and then trash yourself, beat up on yourself. I'm suggesting you start over, create realistic goals, and raise your expectation to the level you know you can meet them, but not excessive. And then start to appreciate that you count in your own life. Being truly whole means being imbalanced in your life, having the best relationship possible, and developing strong self-esteem by discovering your sacred self. I'll help you discover the ultimate power and fulfillment of your femininity in our final segment. and how you can pass along your empowerment to the next generation. For so long, we've been led to believe that we're merely mechanistic beings. We're mechanical. We're just some cells put together. And to correct the cells, well, you have to go in and give them some kind of therapy. I say that's only a small, tiny part of what's wrong with us. We are also physical, emotional, spiritual beings. We've got to work on that part too. And working on that part is what this part is about. Helping you gain the power to have self-confidence to make the right choices in your life. Because when you're doing something psychologically and you're doing something emotionally and you're having positive talk and you're having positive relationships and you're honoring what really works in your life, then where have you created imbalance? Because it's only with imbalance you create conflict, and with conflict, disease. When someone's asked me, Gary, I've got problems. I've got breast cancer, I've got fibroids, or I've got fibrocystic breasts, I have dysmenorrhea. What do I do? Okay, there are things practically we can do, things that we've discussed. You can change your diet, you can change your exercise program, but above and beyond all that, at least 50% of every equation is your beliefs. What do you believe in? The power of believing in the right thing and energizing that and committing yourself to it, that is as important as everything else combined. Now, put the two together. Put the change in diet, exercise, stress management, put all that in with a positive belief system, and boom, you've got healing. And that's what we're going to focus on now. There are hundreds of questions you could be asking yourself. And I'm just going to share a few with you that I have used time and again with individuals. I can't answer the question for you, but I can ask you to ask yourself these questions. And if you ask these questions and you give yourself time and you don't deny, you don't avoid, don't make any excuse, you're not going to be graded on it, no one's going to judge you on it. But have the courage to ask yourself the question that could open up a whole new door in your life, a potential for healing. The first question, what excuses do you use to keep yourself from living your dreams? How often have you said, okay, I'd have a dream, but maybe I don't have the education, or maybe I'm a woman of color, or maybe I'm too old to do something that I would have done earlier in life, but I didn't do it, so now I'm too old. Think of the excuses. You don't know something, so the assumption is you don't know how to do something, you couldn't learn how to do it. I'm saying there should be no excuse for you not doing anything you want to do. If one person can do it, anybody can do it. All right? So if we have an example of someone who has changed their life, who has been in a bad relationship and had the courage to get out of it before they become a victim of it, learning how to get rid of the toxic people in your life, toxic things in your life, that takes courage. It doesn't take any courage to stay in a bad relationship because your mother says, well, work on it, go to a therapist. I don't believe in marriage counselors. All right? If a relationship doesn't work, it doesn't work. Why in our society have we made women feel that they have a moral responsibility to men and to their family to make it work when it's not working? What have they had to compromise to make something work? I think one of the biggest problems right now facing women in this new millennia is that they have tried to find themselves through a man. And you can never find yourself through a man. Nor can a man find themselves through a woman. You have to find yourself on your own. Well, I'm saying, women, you've got to demand what you want in a relationship and accept nothing less. Because when you start accepting something less, then you start getting the emotional separation and everything else becomes more important and people forget who you are. So put it in your mind that a relationship is going to be a healthy relationship, a happy relationship, a growing relationship. But life is important in a good quality relationship. Second, what types of emotions and attitude cause others to take notice of you? If you're an individual who has gotten attention by doing all the things that other people could do for themselves, you're a chronic caregiver. Oh, don't do that, I'll do it. Oh, you don't have to clean up, I'll do it. Oh, don't worry, I can make the dinner myself, don't worry. I'll clean up the dish, don't worry about it. I'm saying let's start getting to the idea where we stop doing everything for everyone else and have properly shared responsibilities in our life, because at the end of a day, one of the reasons you don't diet properly and eat right, and one of the reasons you're not doing meditation is because you have no time left for you. You spend all day working on everyone else's needs and none are left for you. We're a society that judges people based upon the certainty of their values. Well, think of the consequence. I don't trust people who are certain about everything. Why? Because when you're so certain about everything, you no longer grow. Think about the doctor. I'm certain you must have a radical mastectomy. I'm certain you need Prozac. I'm certain your kid has attention deficit disorder. I'm certain you need the artificial hormone replacement. I'm certain that you cannot reverse the aging process. Their certainty is a limitation, but from a woman's perspective, women have never historically needed certainty. Women respect the idea that life is evolving, emotions evolve, things change. You know, there's a birth, death, life cycling. You know, the woman doesn't have to validate herself through a man's belief system, but frequently does. So a woman says, all right, what if we're not certain? What if we are simply questioning? What if we're uncertain? Uncertain means we can look for other options. We can look for alternatives. If I'm uncertain that breast cancer is caused by genes, then I will at least look at diet and lifestyle. If I'm certain about compulsory vaccination, then I'll look for what's wrong with vaccinations as well as what's right. I'll look for its need rather than and its options. You're more important in your career, and you should never make your career more important than your life. So when we look at things that fail, do not beat up on yourself. Everything in life fails. Do you think when Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers were dancing, they did it to perfection? They came out one day and they just danced, it was perfect? They had to work weeks and weeks and weeks. What we do not see when we see a Picasso painting or when we see a Pavarotti singing. Do you think when the three tenors came in, every note they hit was perfect? They recorded that for days to get it right. When you see anything, you're seeing the end stage of a process of mastery. Why then should we beat up on ourselves when we do something wrong, say something wrong, or feel something that's not in our best interest? We're merely a work in progress. So forgive yourself for being human. It's okay to make mistakes and learn from them and to grow, and stop thinking negative thoughts about yourself because you do make mistakes. We've made our lives unbearably complicated, and they don't need to be. We've got to unclutter our lives, slow down, start looking at our goals and say, am I killing myself for a goal, and why? If I was truly a happy person, if I loved myself, would I be killing myself to prove it? Do you believe that you're enough to be enough in your own life? If you do, you won't kill yourself for your career. And does your career honor you? Or what you're doing every day so hard, does it really represent who you really are? If it doesn't, then stop doing it and do something that does. I'm saying it's time for women to stop what they're doing for a moment, take a pause in their life, take a deep breath and say, from this moment forward in this new millennium, I'm going to honor me, the real self. I will not do anything that creates psychic, emotional, spiritual, or physical imbalance and disease. And then you create your own belief system. Historically, women have been led to believe they're nobody until somebody loves them. All right? Then you spend your whole life trying to prove that you are worth loved. You'll do things for people. You're always willing to sacrifice something to prove that, hey, I'm okay, love me. That's not healthy. And you want to know something? Even if someone did try to give you all the attention and time and energy that you thought you needed, it wouldn't strengthen you, and it wouldn't fill up the empty hole. You alone have the capacity to decide for yourself what you need to do to make yourself feel complete. You are complete. The real self, the real authentic self that's in you is complete. It's completely spiritual, completely beautiful, completely wonderful. It's the conditioned self that has the defects. You cannot make yourself whole in the conditioned self, but you can in the real self. So get real. Get with what is uniquely you and say, I don't need anyone else telling me I'm a nice person or a loving person. I am that person. I'm happy with me. You as a woman have the right to determine what you want in your life and what you want to exclude, what you want to believe in and what you want no longer to accept. Before you can go forward, you have to understand where you're at, because over here is your daughter, and here is your granddaughter and your great-granddaughter, and your mother's back here and your grandmother's back here. All right, now you know what has limited you. You know the falseness of many of the beliefs. You know the conditioning of your mind. You know how it's caused disease and disharmony. So you open the door of innate knowledge. You're curious about all these other systems of belief, and you take a step forward into a new millennia of new enlightenment. But you're still holding yourself back out of fear. Will I be respected if I make choices on my own? Will I be accepted if I boycott things or make positive political statements? So you're stuck in a paradigm shift. You're stuck here and here. You want the comfort of what was in the past, even though it doesn't always work for you, but you want the potential for happiness and healing and holism with your family and your children for the future. When you're not willing to surrender the past to go forward, then you're stuck in a psychic spasm. The next generation of daughters and granddaughters deserve for you to walk forward. Walk into the new millennia. Walk in with the confidence you are enough to be enough in your own life. You are capable of training your daughters early in life to have the courage to make appropriate and proper choices. Do not be afraid of the sacrifices that we make in our life, because when we make the proper sacrifices, we empower ourselves. When you're not afraid to make one step, then you're going to make another step and another step and another step. There was a time just 20 years ago when women were forbidden from running in any marathon because doctors, male doctors, said your body can't handle it. Well, today the majority of marathon runners are women because physiologically they're better adapted at running a marathon because they have more fat tissue and they release that glycogen and run a marathon. Most women I have met in my life are like wonderful, wonderful oasis of beauty and passion and enormous amount of feeling. And yet, because of their conditioning, they're not in the oasis. They're in the desert, suffering and feeling victimized and disempowered. And you keep saying, go into the oasis. Go into the oasis. And society says, you can't have too much power, too much pleasure, too much autonomy. We need to control everything about you. Economically, we make our money off of you. I'm saying, embrace the best that you are and watch how little disease there is. I began this program asking the men to leave the room. However, I really hoped a lot of men would watch too. If you're one of them, thank you. Now you'll be part of empowering your partner to enjoy the best life possible, with a greater understanding of conditions specific to women and how you can together create the most balanced and fulfilled life possible and embrace the power and beauty of women.